So this is a webinar to help you understand the EBTJV Coldwater Stewardship Program and how to manage your award. We hope this will help establish the relationship between your organization and the Eastern Brook Trout Joint Venture and facilitate better award management. I'm Lori Maloney. I'm the coordinator for the Eastern Brook Trout Joint Venture. And I hope we will be also joined by Megan Lehue, who is the Grants and Finance Manager for the Canaan Valley Institute. The Canaan Valley Institute is the 501c3 sponsor for the EBTJV and is the entity that holds the grant that we are passing through to you as subrecipients in this program. The Eastern Brook Trout Joint Venture is a collaboration of 17 state fish and wildlife agencies, numerous federal resource agencies, tribal organizations, academic institutions, and NGOs, all dedicated to reversing the decline of brook trout populations in the Eastern Range. Our mission is to secure resilient populations of wild brook trout by protecting, enhancing, and restoring aquatic habitat and increasing human connections to and stewardship of our natural environment. Essentially, we want to reverse the decline of brook trout and make sure they stay on the map for future generations. The Canaan Valley Institute is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that works to create healthy communities, vibrant economies, clean watersheds across Central Appalachia. CVI restores degraded land and streams to conditions that are healthier for people, plants, and animals. By providing outreach, education, and technical assistance, it also helps organizations, local governments, and communities gain the tools and skills necessary to develop lasting solutions. So essentially, this Coldwater Stewardship Grant Program aims to accelerate the pace of brook trout conservation through training and outreach. Our project funding is usually limited to project-based work. That is the project funding that EBTJV passes along annually through its RFP. But this program is different. In this program, we saw an opportunity to provide funds much more quickly if we did not fund construction. So we wanted to provide funds to partners to improve the transfer of knowledge and skills about the best techniques for conserving brook trout. Our network of managers, research, and conservation practitioners has written a strategic plan and this roadmap to conservation, which includes our strategic actions. But we know that the real work happens at the local level. And we were especially interested in funding programs that could improve the ability of managers to apply conservation techniques and learn about those conservation techniques. But we were also interested in programs and approaches that would help audiences beyond anglers, especially landowners and municipal officials, to understand the value of work such as riparian planting and culvert replacements. So we want to provide a little bit of background on the funding to the EBTJV and CVI and this program. So EBTJV was formed in 2005 as one of the first 5 national fish habitat partnerships. Under this umbrella, we also receive annual operational funding, which is managed by, it's administered by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The award program is the ACE Act, which was passed in 2020. And this grant is held by CVI. We also receive an annual allocation to provide selected applicants on the ground project funding. This funding has existed through 2006 and is administered directly by the Fish and Wildlife Service, can take up to 18 months to deliver. That's the RFP, project RFP that we just opened last week. Which is different from this Coldwater Stewardship Program. This program is the Coldwater Stewardship Funding, which is under, it's a one-time opportunity made possible by a 2022 grant through the National Fish Habitat Partnership to Canaan Valley Institute in addition to our usual operational funding. Because it's already in hand by CVI, we can make it available to you much faster. Winning applicants, you are considered subawardees under this grant, which the number is here, which we're required to pass along that number to you. So it's provided to the Canadian Valley Institute from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Unlike our annual project-based RFP, no funds from the Coldwater Stewardship Program may be used for construction. We define this as anything putting a shovel to dirt. In addition, there are a number of additional restrictions which were included in your award letter and are included on this slide. I'm not going to read all of these right now, but they're available in your email. But importantly, you must be in compliance with any currently held federal grants in order to continue receiving this funding. And because we may be audited at some point in time, we just need to let you know that we could ask you for any financial statements and records. We're not asking for that now, but there's just that possibility that we could in the future need to ask that. So you can begin your project as soon as you've agreed to your award email. It's, there's no more formal than that, just the reply all saying you agreed to the terms in the email. You may be, oh, sorry, this is a timeline. So yeah, you may start as soon as you've responded to that email. As needed, you can submit reimbursement requests with financial reporting and a brief project update, and we'll talk about that in a couple slides. If for whatever reason you don't submit a financial request within 6 months, we may request you provide us a brief status update of your project to make sure things are still moving along. September 30th, 2024 is the hard project completion date, and that's dictated by that grant to CVI through the Fish and Wildlife Service. That's the end date of our grant, so we have to pass along that end date to you. November 1st is when we would ask for a final financial report from you, and November 30th is the final date for your reporting to CVI with match tracking. And we don't yet have a final report template because this is a brand new program, but we will provide you a final report template by the spring, April 1st. And we'll provide that by email and put that on our website as well. And that's also the time when we would ask for a spreadsheet of tracking your match, the non-federal or federal match. We don't need that match tracking with each one of your financial reports, but we will need some accounting of it at the end of the project. And if you're having a hard time with that non-federal match, just send me an email to let me know where you are with things. And then December 10th at 1 p.m. is going to be an informal Zoom grantee meeting just to let you share your projects with one another. Okay, if you, how to accept your award, most of you have already. If to accept your award, you just need to review your award letter and review the conditions, including any changes to your written plan, a requirement for one press release and post-project Zoom meeting, and requirement for reporting to CVI. And then once you've returned that email indicating you agree to those terms, you are free to begin to incur expenses. And if you have expenses from the past week or two and you want to submit them before the end of December, you are more than welcome to do that, as long as you've sent that email back. Okay, so managing your award and where to find information. So your financial spreadsheet, which is tailored to your project based on the budget sheet that you provided at your application, was provided in your acceptance email. So if you lose track of that, you can email me and I can send it back to you, or you could just look for that email again, and that's where your financial tracking spreadsheet will be found. There are other documents on our website, which you can access through easternbrooktrout.org, following the projects tab, and then funding opportunities, and then this tab for EBTJV Coldwater Stewardship Small Grants Program. And there's an information for grantees folder in there. That contains documents such as the EBTJV and CVI logos, a template for press releases, and some other background information. That's also where we'll put the final report template when it is complete. This is currently not set up as a portal. Since there are so few projects that we've funded through this, we've funded 4 projects. The management is perfectly fine for us to do via email. So you can just go ahead and send me anytime you've got something to submit, send it to me and I can share it with our financial manager, and I'll send you a response that we received it. On to financial reporting. So looking at that financial spreadsheet, this is the second, just a screen grab of the second tab. There are certain, let me start all over again. There's 3 tabs on that spreadsheet. The first is the information that you provided in your application, exactly as you submitted it in your financial spreadsheet. The second tab is this one you're looking at a screenshot from right now, which is where on a monthly or periodic basis, you will be entering your expenses that you'll be reimbursing, doing a reimbursement request for. And then the third tab is an instructions document. So feel free to refer to that instructions document for how to fill out this spreadsheet. Essentially, there are some items on this spreadsheet that are auto-generated from that first tab that you had provided. So for example, you can see up here that the total budget approved amounts are pulled from your application. So those are generated automatically. You would put in information down below on purchased and obtained items, which is then going to result in a summary being auto-populated above, and it will let you know also whether your expenses are staying within that budget that you had proposed. If you do exceed the budget category, send me an email, or if you think you're going to exceed a budget category by more than 5%, go ahead and send me an email. Let me know what's happening. It's just a point of communication that we'll need. It's in most cases, it's not going to require a formal budget revision because of the way these budgets are and because these are small grants, but we would like to know if that is happening. So this spreadsheet will flag it if it goes beyond 10%. Or sorry, it'll flag it if it goes over your budget, and if it's beyond 10%, we'd like to know. This spreadsheet also has a number here for backup documentation. So every time you put in, for example, a purchased or obtained item, say you've got a contract with somebody and you paid your contractor $2,000, that goes in this, cell B1 here. And then when you upload, we're asking you to upload documentation. So that would be document number 1 would be that invoice from that contractor. And then if you could just compile all of your invoices together into a single document. So say in one reimbursement request, you had 4 items, a contractor, you had, administrator time. So you had a timesheet, and then maybe you had a couple of receipts for something. Just compile those all into a single PDF if you can, and then just submit that in your email to me. If you have trouble with that, compiling into a single PDF, just let me know and we can work with you on that. And then we'll also need an invoice written out to your organization, which would just be the rolled up sum of all those individual amounts. So for example, if you had a $2,000 to a contractor and another $1,000 in receipts from something else, you would just send an invoice from Maine Audubon for, I forgot what numbers I just put out there, but for $3,000 if that's what it was. And that invoice is what CVI will pay to you. So we're not paying your contractors, we're paying as a reimbursement to you directly. And then also in that email that you send to me, we will just need a very brief status update, even if it's just one line, for something that happened. So, 1 to 2 paragraph brief status update in the body of the email is sufficient at these reimbursement requests. So examples of documentation would include invoices, timesheets, receipts. If you're traveling, just a description of the locations and the mileage between those distances. And again, compile all the scanned documents into a single PDF. We won't need documentation of match, like receipts or, participation logs or volunteer hours. We don't need that at these intervals. We really are just going to need that match documentation at the very end of the project. And we've provided a match documentation template spreadsheet. It's pretty simplified. That's in that folder on our website. And then every time you submit a reimbursement, it should not take us more than 30 days to get that check cut back to your organization. Please make sure that the address on the invoice that you submit to us is the address that you need to send that check back to. If it's a different location, just let me know. And then some other considerations. We are requesting that if you're working with landowners or you're producing any materials, you look at or reference some of the materials we have on our website, just for some, having parallel or a little bit of shared language with how we present information to the public. Other sources of information would be our strategic plan, which we can also put in that folder. I just realized that's not in that folder for grantees, but I'll provide that in that folder. If you're not producing materials for the public, then that part's not relevant. But in any materials that you do produce, please use the CVI and EBTJV logos. And those, again, are in that folder. And PDFs of any materials you produce would be great to include in your final reporting. One thing I forgot to add to this slide is that requirement of a single press release, and we have a template for a press release in that folder on the website. This is a picture depicting our assessment of brook trout at the catchment and patch scale that was completed in 2016. This is not a component of this project, but we really wanted to highlight this because the EBTJV is in the process of updating our map and our assessment of brook trout. And that will be available to the public sometime next spring. And it's something that we'd like to tee up because it'll be really exciting at the time when we are able to produce that. We're doing it with the close involvement of all of the 17 states and some of the national parks in our Eastern Range, where they're providing detailed information on where they've captured from electrofishing brook trout and other salmonid species. And it gets rolled up into this map that shows you across the range, like where are brook trout by themselves and where are brook trout living in sympatry with other salmonid species, where are the patches, where are the strongholds, as Trout Unlimited calls them, of brook trout, where are those isolated individual watersheds that are on that are at risk of blinking out. It's really our most important product. A lot of folks go to our website to look at our maps of where brook trout are. So we'll be very excited to release this new map in the spring. And it's just something to keep an eye out for. And if you have any questions, my email address is here. Megan Leahy's email address is here. Again, she's the financial manager for the Canadian Valley Institute. And thank you for your time. And I can take whatever questions you may have.